Good morning, grade 8. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about lesson 2 of chapter 4, asexual reproduction. So, just here, we're going to have the other type of reproduction. In the first lesson of that chapter, we talked about sexual reproduction and the meiosis process. So, we know what is sexual reproduction. We said that's a kind of reproduction that requires two parents. One is male and the other one is female. And then we have a kind of combination between their DNA. So, we got a new individual that have a kind of mix between the DNA of the two parents. So, it's a unique one which have different characteristics rather than two parents or different traits rather than the two parents. So today we're going to pass to the other type of reproduction, which is asexual reproduction. So here in that lesson, okay, after we should know what is asexual reproduction and why it's beneficial, what the benefits or what is the advantages of asexual reproduction, how do types of asexual reproduction differ, okay, or the ways in which asexual reproduction could happen. So the new vocabulary, new terms which we're going to learn: asexual reproduction, fission, budding, regeneration, vegetation or vegetative reproduction. Okay, cloning, that's the last term which we're going to know. So here let's start by the asexual reproduction. As you think or as you know, okay, as you studied before in previous years, okay, that asexual reproduction, it's a kind of reproduction that's happened by just one parent only. So in this case, we don't have two parents. That means there is no meiosis, no fertilization, no sex cells, nothing of these. Just one parent only that is gonna produce new offspring which are exactly the same. So if we ask a good question here, why are they exactly like the same? Why they are not different? Because here we have just one source of DNA. That means one parent only will pass a copy of his own DNA to his offspring. So the offspring will be exact copy like the parent. So here we call this asexual reproduction. So we said that in asexual reproduction, one parent organism produces offspring without meiosis and fertilization. So which means actually here we will not find, so we will not find this kind of differentiation or this kind of differences between the parent and the offspring. So because the offspring inherit all their DNA from one parent, so they are genetically identical. Okay, that means no genetic variation in asexual reproduction. So that means I couldn't find this kind of variety between living organisms who reproduce asexually. And what do you think? Is it good or bad that there is no genetic variety, okay, or there is no genetic variation between living organisms who reproduce asexually? Of course, that's a good thing, okay, or bad thing, because as you remember in sexual reproduction, or while we explaining the sexual reproduction, we said that genetic variety considered a good thing. Why it's a good thing? Because genetic variety make people or make individuals of a species, they have different characteristics which enable them or give higher chance to adapt with different environmental conditions, so that somehow ensure the continuity of life or ensure that they could survive once the environmental conditions change. While in case of asexual reproduction, as all individuals, they are gonna have the same DNA, or they are gonna exactly be the same. So that means they have the same characteristics. When the environmental conditions change and the new conditions doesn't support these traits, so actually they will not be able to survive and they may extinct. So here that's the big difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. So here we said like this: we have many ways that asexual reproduction could happen with. Okay, so before we start in this, we need to clarify one idea: that asexual reproduction, it happens in some living organisms. Not all living organisms are able to do asexual reproduction, just some of them. Okay, some of living organisms, they are able to do both of types of reproduction. Some of them they able to do sexual and the asexual based on the environmental conditions or the chance which are allowed to them. Okay, so that's here the idea that that means some living organisms are obligated to perform asexual reproduction only, and others, okay, they are able to perform sexual reproduction only, and some able to do both. Okay, so here that's differ, okay, regarding to the species. So for example, the unicellular living organism, because it's just made of one cell, it's just a unicellular. So here in this case, it's hardly to find a kind of sexual reproduction. So it means it's obligated to do a kind of asexual reproduction because it's just one cell. Okay, so we don't have specialized organs that carry out the function of formation of sex cells and so on. So just here we depend on asexual reproduction. While the higher living organisms like mammals, birds, and like this, they are highly developed and they have specialized tissues, specialized systems, and specialized organs. So they are able to form sex cells and they are able to carry the sexual reproduction process. So here it means it's very depends on the species or depend on the living organism. Let's start to talk about the types of asexual reproduction that could happen. We are going to start by the first one, which is fission. So fission, it's the simplest form of asexual reproduction that could ever happen. So whatever, before we start here, that's whatever any asexual reproduction, it depends on the division of the cell. Which kind of division? Yes, mitosis, exactly, guys. It depends on mitosis division. So because as we know, meiosis just happen in case of sexual reproduction, and it happen in certain types of cells which are reproductive cells only. So like this, meiosis is just related to sexual reproduction only, so we will not depend on it in asexual reproduction. While in asexual reproduction, we need the cell to divide and produce two cells which are exact copy like the original one. So here we talk about mitosis division or something similar like that. So we find the first thing is fission. So we said that what is fission? Fission simply, it's a simple division, that we have a prokaryotic cell like bacteria. This prokaryotic cell just have some DNA swimming in cytoplasm, so it's just gonna split into two cells, each one have exact copy of the DNA. That's only here. So fission, even it's a kind of division which is simpler than mitosis, because we know that mitosis is the division of nucleus, but in prokaryotes like bacteria there is no nucleus, just DNA swimming in cytoplasm. So we're gonna find, okay, it will divide. So let's show this, or showing the idea here. So that means in bacterial cell, okay, as we know, the bacteria for growing bacteria. So we know that bacteria is just cell membrane and a circular DNA swimming in cytoplasm like this. So what would happen, guys? Simply, okay, once the cell reaches the maximum size, we are gonna find the cell become bigger like this, and it will replicate its DNA. So it's gonna have like making a copy of this circular DNA. Then it will split into two cells, so we have two new cells, okay, which are exactly the same, and they have the same DNA, so they are here exactly the same, no variety. And here we have two, so like this we start to increase the numbers, or we produced a new individual, okay, with already the same couple like the original one. So that's kind of production. So we call this fission, and fission just happen in prokaryotic cells, which means it happen in bacteria. So fission is a kind of division which is simpler than mitosis, even simpler than mitosis, because here there is no nucleus, just circular DNA only in cytoplasm. So that's the first type in which the asexual reproduction could happen. So like that, okay, that's in prokaryote. What about more eukaryotes? What do you think? Yes, once we talk about eukaryote, that means we're going to have a nucleus, and we are going to have the normal structure of the cell which we know it. So fission will not work properly, so we're going to just do the normal division which we know, which is mitosis. Okay, so here we see that the prokaryote's DNA molecule is coupled, and each copy attached to the cell membrane. Then we are gonna, the cell grow longer, reach the maximum size, and each copy of DNA will be at one end of the cells to ensure that during division no part of the DNA is missed or lost. Okay, and then the cells start to pinch inward, as we said before, until it completely split down into two new cells. Okay, so here, as we can, that's how it's look like. So through fission, the cell splits and form two new identical offspring. So that is the bacterial cell, and we can see here the DNA swimming in cytoplasm. We make a copy of the DNA, then each copy start to move a little to, or they move farther from each other to allow, or to give a chance to the cell membrane to pinch inward at the middle. Then start to cut into two daughter cells, which are exactly like that first one. So here, that's how, okay, or that's how the asexual reproduction happen in prokaryotes, and we call this fission, simpler than mitosis. Okay, so that's the first type, or that's what the first way that asexual reproduction could happen. Next time we are gonna pass to the eukaryotic cells and find how they could reproduce asexually. Thank you, guys, and see you next time.